everybody, I'm back! Yay! And I'm finally home. My car managed to pass, and my sticker is coming in the mail. Man, being an adult is ridiculous sometimes, but that's life, I guess. Anyway, this aged poorly. Back, and oh, thank God, Nifty is the last redesign. I blame myself for jinxing it, but hey, more has-been stuff for you guys. Anyway, super surprised they dropped Pentious before Cherry, but I guess it makes sense since she appeared right after him in the pilot. But anyway, just like always, I'm gonna get into the character's origin. But, fun surprise, Sir Pentious never actually existed back in the Zoophobia days. I mean, he kinda did. This character here is what many people believe is Sir Pentious' first appearance, but it technically isn't. Like, I'm sure he's probably the backbone for the current Sir Pentious, but they weren't named the same or have the same lore or death date. Yes, I'm aware Vaggy's death date changed, but that's all they did change about her. Plus, her redesigned timeline makes more sense than Sir Pentious' does, as you can see. Like, it's very clear these are now two separate characters who happen to share the same aesthetic. Also, it would seem Sir Pentious was never supposed to be a part of the cast for very long, but due to the fans loving him so much, he's worked his way into the cast, which I totally understand. He's ridiculously funny. But since Sir Pentious was never a part of Zoophobia, and the time when his other self was posted was around the time that I had left the fandom, I don't remember what I got into that made me leave, but I ended up leaving. So like everyone else, I was new to this character. I personally never liked his appearance. The snake part I liked, but his outfit was my least favorite. But the voice actor really sold him. But it seems he also won't be a part of the project anymore. Not exactly sure why, but I'm sure some of y'all will tell me in the comments. But anyway, Sir Pentious' plot outfit was always an issue for me. I never really understood how it worked due to the eye on his chest, but also it looked way too much like Alistair's. Like, look at them side by side. It's too similar. It's weird that they look so much alike. And yes, it's a pilot, but still, it still looks the same now, even with the Canon photo. Like, other than the neck and being a bit shorter, it was clearly a carbon copy, though that hat kind of gave the illusion it wasn't. And while we're at it, that hat is both a really cool idea and a bad one. Like, it's cool that it's almost alive. Like, that's a fun idea, and I think it could work in a lot of cool ways. But it makes focusing on Sir Pentious' face really hard. Like, during the pilot, I kept looking up and down when he was doing anything because the hat does stuff right along with him. But overall, Sir Pentious is a really fun character. It's just his design that needs a bit more. I mean, he's referenced to having a steampunk look, but his pilot look and now finalized versions are just not it. I can't understand why Viv and Spindlehorse didn't think to do something more. Like, steampunk in itself is already a very detailed aesthetic, so for someone who likes detailed stuff, she and Spindlehorse should have been like all over this, but I don't know what happened. Anyway, let's get into the redesign. Sorry I didn't have as much information about Sir Pentious as I usually do for the others, but there's nothing about him from the Zoophobia days that actually pertains to the pilot, and there's nothing from the pilot or the trivia that actually helps me with anything, so most of what I'm going off of is just style and aesthetic. So yeah, let's get into the redesign. Okay, so it's no secret that the Has-Been team and Viv don't really look up the fashions they reference for their characters, and Sir Pentious is the biggest piece of proof, as his death date is 1888, and just like Nifty, has an actual age. He's 40, meaning he went through almost half of the 1800s since he would have been born around 1848, and just like Alistair prefers his own time's way of life, so this whole outfit is nowhere near accurate to the 1800s. Like, the shoulder pads alone, those never existed, so he should not be wearing them. And I understand that Sir Pentious has lived in hell longer than the entire cast, minus Charlie, but still, I feel like even though Angel Dust has also lived in hell for a little bit longer, he still incorporates his time period's outfit in his more modern setting. I feel like most characters born back then in the day would be like that, where they would incorporate their time periods into their more modern clothing if they chose. But Sir Pentious has proven that he doesn't really like doing that. He does it just so he can seem popular and cool and overlordy, but in reality, he hates it. But I mean, like, I understand fantasy fashion doesn't have to follow the rules. I mean, I love the live-action Cinderella because of that. They were able to blend 1950s fashion with 1800s fashion and make it work. But this is not making it work. Yes, 1800s men's fashion is just as boring as today's men's fashion, suits in general. But with the added info that Sir Pentious has a steampunk aesthetic, it shouldn't be hard to come up with something since most steampunk media is based around the 1800s. The two go hand in hand, plus you would think Viv and her team would love to do something with this since steampunk is every detail designer's wet dream. Like, I just don't understand how they dropped the ball so hard. So when I redesigned him, I dumped all the steampunk style I could. I'm talking bolts, clocks, lots of layers, gloves, and belts that have no function. The whole point is to look like you and a clock fused together like that guy from the Fly movie. Like, for his suit, I completely got rid of his old one. I really don't think he should look anything like Alistair. That's Vox's job. So I went with a more stained glass style with strong stitch line work and gave him a more high-rise collar with a unique A shape. I originally had it made to look more like a fancy lab coat, but I figured Sir Pentious would have a more appropriate work outfit when he's actually working and not trying to blow stuff up. But I did make it an overlapping style where it only closes on one clasp over the chest. I also added some leather vest type elements to his side and upper shoulders, as work leather and straps are another staple of steampunk. As for the undervest, I did a simple slip-on vest, so if he were to take off his coat, you would see the sides of it and it would have either buckles or waist tighteners similar to a corset, though I did keep the stripes as it wouldn't be Hazbin Hotel without them, right? Also, his undershirt I made a bit more old school with puffy sleeves, but his collar I made longer and more in line with an old-fashioned scientist look. You know the ones. Kind of like Yzma's lab coat. Anyway, I also replaced the eye on his chest. I figure since they did it, I could do it too. But I mean, who are they kidding? Like, they got rid of it only to put it on his bow tie. Like, it's so small. Why even do that? And still not give him an undershirt? Like, the whole point why he didn't wear one in the beginning was because of the chest eye. And don't say that this is now his undershirt when it's not even the same color as his undersleeves. See? And trust me, that's not the lighting that's doing that. That was off topic. Sorry. I replaced his chest eye / bow tie eye to a clock styled eye along with giving him a cravat. I'm probably saying that wrong, but it's basically excuse me. But it's basically a frilly tie, you know? It's one of these things. Very vampire. I also gave him a belt that has no purpose other than to look cool and to add another eye on, you know, just because. The hat, I know a few people thought I took the mouth away. I actually didn't. I figured it'd be a more fun surprise if the mouth just ripped open out of nowhere from time to time, making the audience really think if it's alive or not. But I also did it so the goggles and mouth wouldn't be fighting each other like they are here. Like, I noticed so many people didn't even notice that they were there to begin with. It also probably doesn't help that they're the same color as the teeth and the fact that they're ridiculously small. I don't get how people can still say these finalized designs are easy to animate. Like, I'm sorry, but they really aren't. That was probably an excuse to make sure fans didn't lose their minds, and since the White Knights keep everyone in check, it kind of did. You know, I've had a few White Knights in the comments, and, you know, they seem to just really believe anything that the crew says, and I'm like, you know, lying exists, right? Like, marketing and stuff like that. That's how things work, but whatever. I also changed the shape of the hat, as I'm not sure what happened when they decided this was a good idea. Like, pointed brow hats did exist back then. I mean, where do you think fedoras came from? There's so much going on that I just don't understand. Like, why? Ugh. Anyway, I took a lot of the elements from the suit and vest and put it on the hat, as it was pretty common back then to make sure your whole outfit matched in some way. As for the overall body, I did make him a bit bigger than they did, but that mostly had to do with how I was sketching in general. And I gave him a snoot. he's a snake man. He needs a snoot. But to make sure it still fit in the VivziePop universe, I gave him Striker's snoot. Though I angled it a little bit more, kind of like those horn-nosed snakes. Anyway, and Striker's eyes. Those Sir Pentious' backbone did it first, but I mean, Striker is said to be based around snakes, so it seemed fine to make Sir Pentious similar, you know. I also added glasses, no real reason, just thought they were cool. And lastly, I moved his eyes to the side of his body, as it's really uncomfortable to watch him move around with his eyes on the bottom part of his body. Like, I 100% get that it's hell and that's supposed to be painful and stuff like that, but for me, I think it's just too much. Though I do still really like the idea of, like, him dragging himself around and scraping up his eyes as he's doing it, but I don't know, if I had to watch it all the time, I would feel extremely uncomfortable all the time. But I also downgraded the amount of eyes, as I feel his demon look would be the better time to have a lot of eyes, you know? Which I hope we get to see, honestly, because I think it'd be really cool. I used a completely different color palette than the one I showed you guys, and I'm still not happy. I've recolored him so much that I had to stop and take a cry break. Green and yellow are extremely difficult to work with, as green has many hues, while yellow has not as many. Like, yellow does have a lot of hues because of red, but trying to do yellow and green is a whole other ballpark. And, you know, none of them are actually really... And none of them are pretty, you know? Even when you darken it to do, like shading, it's still super ugly. Which is why I don't like working with yellow very often. Unless it's for bees. But this is what I settled on. It's a little less green and has bits of blue-green. And I'm not too mad at it. This is just one of those times where I actually struggle with color. Shocker. I know. But let me know what you guys think. I'm nervous about this one now since I'm not super happy about the colors. But anyway, I'm super sure that Cherry isn't too far from dropping this month, so can't wait for that. She said sarcastically. Anyway, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Really helps out the channel. I'm hoping that after Sir Pentious, I'll be able to make either Laguna or Mayura. I haven't decided yet, but those are the two that should be next after this video. So yeah, that's my thought process right now. I'm still debating. But anyway, I hope you all have a super fantastic day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!